How's it going, YouTube? In this video, we are continuing my Tempest card review. We now know the release date of the expansion, which will be in March 30th, which is close, and I'm very excited. As always, if you guys like the video, give me a like, give me a sub. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are back with another Tempest card review. To start off, we have Hulking Giant, a Runecraft Legendary, 6 and it is the other Earth Sigil Legendary, which, as I predicted, we will definitely get another Earth Sigil Legendary, right? So his effect is Fanfare. Discard all Earth Sigils from your hand and gain +2/+2 for each discarded. Cannot be targeted by enemy spells and effects. When it's able, he cannot be targeted either. So, interesting about this card is that most cards use sigils that are on your board. This card uses sigils that are on your hand. And that's pretty interesting and pretty cool. It's like upsides and downsides to it, right? Because sometimes you might want to save your sigils, and this guy will force you to discard them. On the other hand, sometimes you have sigils and you like, it sucks when you have to play the mana to get the effect, right? In some situations, you would play a sigil to give a minion +2/+2 anyway, right? So that's good here. What's really good about this card is that even if you don't have sigils, a 6/1/6/6 that can be targeted is just good. Like, that's just solid. And if you have a sigil or two, it becomes like a, imagine you have two sigils. It's a 10/10. It was into a 12/12 that can be targeted. I like this card a lot. I'm a big fan. And a huge reason that I like this card a lot is because this card wrecks D-Shift. Like, they cannot Wind Blast it. They cannot Fire Embrace it. They gotta just punch through it. And they really don't have the minions to do so. So, Erdrun has a horrible, and I mean horrible matchup against D-Shift. And this guy makes the matchup infinitely better. And it's a card that you would play in your other matchups anyway, right? So, it doesn't hurt you. It only gives you a way better matchup against D-Shift. Between this guy and the Halo Golem, Erdrun should be, it still might not be favored, but at least you have a fighting chance against D-Shift, and that's really exciting. I like this card a lot. It's a good effect. Just can't be targeted, good stats. It's a different way to use your sigils, and that's pretty solid. So I'm a huge fan of this card. Absolutely like it. Okay, next we got Captain Leisha, a Swordcraft Commander, 3 play.23 gold, Fanfare. All allied followers can't be damaged or destroyed by spells and effects until this follower leaves the area. So you want to compare this to the Forest Lisa, which gives you guys protection from spells for 1 turn, right? Now, while Lisa says they can't be damaged, this guy says they can't be destroyed by spells and effects, right? So if I understand correctly, this would protect you from like Decree and things like that as well. And that's pretty good, right? I mean, it has premium stats as a 3+1/2/3 and a good effect on top of that. So it just seems pretty good to me. The question is what deck would play this, right? Because the aggressive Albert decks right now don't want to play this, as you want to guarantee that your only commander is Albert and the main leader can guarantee him, right? So maybe those decks will not play him. But in any other, like, maybe mid-rangey or control sword decks, this just seems like a really good card. I mean, yeah, it only works on your officers, but it's more than just like 8 turns until this card is destroyed, right? He has good stats. It's like a good effect. It's relevant. It's just good. I like it a lot. Yeah, imagine you play Otohime. They evo your Otohime and you play this to protect your fishies. That's pretty solid, right? I like this card a lot. I like this card. It's just good. Like, it's a good effect, right? It's not crazy broken or anything like that, but it's good and it's a good effect. Good stats as well. Just solid. Okay, next we have Yvonne Reaper, a 6 play.36 Shadowcraft card. He has Bane. Last words give Bane to a random allied follower. And I don't really like this guy. I feel like he's like worse than Balor, who is a... What are Balor's stats right now? Anyway, Balor has like similar stats, right? He has Bane, like decent stats, but when he dies, he does AoE damage. And Balor is like not played at all. This guy doesn't give AoE when he dies. He gives last words. He gives Bane to somebody. This is not worth to play in lefties deck or anything like that. And standalone, it's like whatever. I think Balor is better, and Balor sees no play. So I don't necessarily like this guy. In take 2, like, you could take it and be okay with it, right? It could essentially like Evo trade to something and then survive and kill something else. and then get Bane to another minion that could trade up against something else. So I like in take 2 it's solid, right? But I don't see him playing any constructed. Okay, next card we got is the Blood Moon, a Bloodcraft Amulet, 3 play point, and this card I'm crazy excited about. First of all, let me say the art is absolutely fantastic. It's like a wolf going ham, super cool, like the art. And let's talk about the effect. It's a countdown 4, and it just says vengeance is active for you even when your latest defense is more than 10. So before they made all the Tempest card releases, I made a video talking about things that I would like to see in the expansion. And one of the things that I said is that I would like to see Vengeance Blood be a thing. And the way I suggested that, or I pitched it back then, is I said make a card that gives you Vengeance when you're not in 10 life or less. And that is pretty much what we got, right? It's a pretty good card at that. So essentially you play this on 3, and it makes the other Bloodline absolutely insane. It would be a 4 play before 4, draw 2, do no damage to your leader. That's crazy good. I mean, if Control Blood can play Bourbon on 3, which is essentially get them passing the turn, and they're still a really good deck, then Vengeance Blood can just play Bourbon on 3, pass the turn, and then their turn 4, 5, and 6 will be insane, right? Or it should be. You can also play this on 3, play the 5-drop that searches the other legendary, the Hydro, and then play it on 6 while having more than 10 life and have a board full of 5/5s. And that's also pretty good, right? This card essentially makes Vengeance Blood work, and for that I like it a lot. Now, how good that deck will be, or how it will play, where it's going to be aggressive or defensive, mid-range, control, whatever, like, you know, we will figure those things out when this card comes out and we will play. But the fact of the matter is, because this card's in 6, because this card exists, that deck can be a deck, and that is really good, and I'm really happy for it. So I like this card a lot. I'm a huge fan of this card. So next we got the Hippocampus, a 5 play point 3/5, Dragoncraft Bronze, and a pretty cool one at that. The Hippocampus is the, if I'm not mistaken here, it's been a while since I started psychology, but it's like the part of the brain that deals with memory. So I'm not sure why they named it that, but he looks pretty cool, right? I like the art. It's pretty, it's kind of funny, if anything. So he has Ward for 3/5, which is not crazy. It's like, it's decent, not too exciting. But when he evos, he gains +2 health, but he gains +4 attack. He loses Ward though, so he switches to a more aggressive minion. But that's pretty cool, right? Like, Lucifer becomes more aggressive when you evo him, and he's pretty good. You play this on 5 as a 7/7 if you evo, and if you ramp up, you can play this on 4, right, technically? So, 4 mana 7/7. Seems solid. I mean, I don't know if Dragon would play this or not, but it's cool. I like the art. The name is funny to me, so it's just cool. I like it. In take 2 seems pretty good, right? Like, in take 2, like in turn 5, you're definitely evoing over things. And stats matter a lot in take 2, so it just seems good in take 2. First of all, we have Man-Eating Mangrove, the Forestcraft Silver Amulet. It's a 3 play point, countdown 2. Whenever an enemy follower attacks your leader, deal 2 damage to a follower. So, you know, you see this and you think like control forest, right, for the early game. But realistically, you play this on 3, so on turn 4 and 5 is when they can't attack. But on turn 4 and 5, people are using evos and they're trading back and forth. So, and it only works if they attack your leader, right? So I don't think that's great at all. It might stop their aggression for like a turn or 2, and even then it's not that much. If they get a 1/1 evos into a 3/3, it doesn't even die to this, right? If you play this in the late game, you can play it, and then they'll just Albert through it, right? Albert won't care about this. So I don't like it. I think you're better off playing minions in the early game instead. I'm not a big fan of it. Okay, next we got the Vagabond Frog, a Swordcraft Bronze officer. And let me say he looks decently cool. No owl cap, but you know, he looks cool. He's a 3 play 1/2. At the end of your turn, gains ambush. On-evote or evote. So it seems not that great, right? On the other hand, it is more ambush support, which Sword has a little bit of, but like not fully. And you gotta imagine that in an ambush deck, this would be the type of card that you want, right? The fact you get ambush at the end of your turn means you can attack with it, and he goes back into ambush, right? So you can play this on like 4, evo it as a 3/4, trade, gain ambush, get a buff, right? Attack, ambush, get a buff, right? If you have Rogue Street. It doesn't seem that great, but if ambush sword becomes a thing, I think they would play a card like this, right? it's kind of weird to judge how good that is, as like Roast Trade is not enough for Ambush deck to be a thing, right? But if we get enough cards like this, then in the future, maybe Ambush could be a thing. My only concern is that Ambush is a really strong mechanic, as you cannot interact with those minions, right? So if they do want to push Ambush Sword, they gotta be careful, because it could lead to some not fun and not interactive gameplay, right? Okay, next we have Chimera, a 9 play point 4/4 Runecraft Silver, Fanfare deal 4 damage to an enemy follower, and then Spell Boost to cost 1 less, right? So I like this card because it wants to push for like a Runecraft deck that wants to fight the board, right? You wouldn't play this in Daria because it's too slow. And for Daria, it's like not good enough, right? You wouldn't play this in D-Shift because it doesn't do anything with your combo, right? So you would play this in a Runecraft deck where you want to fight the board but still spell boost. And I would like for that deck to at some point in the future be a thing, right? I don't know if this is like good enough, but I like the direction that this might lead Runecraft into, so that seems cool enough. You can compare this to like Lightning Shooter, which is a 5.33, but it can do more damage if it's boosted, right? Like you gotta boost this guy by like 4 for it to be like okay, right? Lightning Shooter is not really that great, but it's not an awful card. It just like doesn't really fit anywhere. And I don't know if this card is better than Lightning Shooter. I don't think it is, right? I gotta say, I do like the art though. It is pretty cool. Controlled area? Well, it doesn't have to be there, right? Could be something else. I'd like to see a Spell Boost rune that is not D-Shift. So, not the best card, but... Okay, next we have Dragon Scyther, a 3-play-1/2/2 Dragoncraft Bronze. He has Bane. Fanfare gains Storm Overflow is active for you. So it's like another Dragon minion that's like okay. And if you have Overflow, it's like a little better, right? Overflow is not really a thing in Dragon. So it would be cool if they push that to be more of like an actual thing that people care about and have to respect, right? So you can compare this to Date Masamune, right? Who's a 2-2/2, which on 7 becomes a 5/5 Bane Rush. This guy has Storm instead of Rush though, which is slightly better. But it's a 2 instead of a 5/5, right? Also, it's like slightly worse. I mean, a 3/2/2 Bane is not horrible. Because it technically does trade as he has Bane. It's kind of weird card though. I don't see any constructor that are playing this. I mean, if you really want the extra Storm, but like Dragon has so many Storm cards to choose from. And I don't know if you would pick this over the other ones, right? And in take 2, you're probably okay with it as he's both like a Bane minion which can fight the board. And also extra push to end the game later on. So, seems solid in take 2, but I don't really see constructed Dragon playing this. Okay, next we have Death's Ledger. A Shadowcraft Gold Amulet, 4 play points, countdown 2. At the end of your turn, put a random Shadowcraft follower that costs less than your total number of play points from your deck into play, then you kill it. So it's kind of like a small Nephthys effect, but it could only happen if you are at those play points or lower, right? So like, you can't play this before and get a Kiwi or Mordecai out of it. You can only get a 4 or less play point minion. Would you play this on 4? Probably not, right? You can get an Unleasher or a 10 and then get a 4/4. And that's like best case scenario, right? Because if you're playing 2-2, you can get a 2-2, there's nothing. And if you play late game, then you can get a Kiwi or Mordecai. But at that point, you're better off just playing Nephthys herself, right? Would a Nephthys deck play Nephthys and these? I don't think so. So, I don't think it's that great. Not a fan of it. It does give you a Shadow as well, but it's like a Shadow, right? It's not great. Like 4 play point is a lot of tempo for you to like maybe get something, right? I don't think it's good. Next we have Maelstrom Serpent, the other Bloodcraft legendary. That's an 8 play point 5/5. Fanfare summon another one of him, and then repeat until the area is full if you have Vengeance. So when I first saw this card, I was like, well, first of all, I'm like, well, okay, the art is really good. I like the art a lot. I'm a huge fan of the art. But I started, I'm like, it's okay. You get a 5/5. It's like you get 10 worth of stats for 8. If you have Vengeance, you get a sick board. But if you are in Vengeance, you're at 10 life. You need cards that either heal you or fight the board or like ward or end the game, right? And this card does not heal you, does not clear the board, and does not end the game, right? So my initial thought was that it's not that great. But now that we have the Blood Amulet legendary that gives you Vengeance even out of 10, suddenly this card is way, way better. Because now you can play that Amulet, not be at risk of dying, and have a sick board of 5/5s, right? You can also combo this with the 2-drop that can search a card up for 5 and make it cost less. So you can play the Amulet on 3, play that guy on 5, play this guy on 6, and get a board full of 5/5s. And that's pretty good, right? That is really good. So I think this card is good. And it's way better now that we have the Vengeance Amulet. I like this card a lot. Plus the art is sick, so I'm a big fan. I gotta imagine it's gonna look great animated, right? I like this card a lot. It's just cool, right? Like, it's another, like, Vengeance Blood thing that can do something cool, right? And it comes with the Tutor as well, so it's just great. I like it a lot. Okay, next we have the Tarnished Grail, a Havencraft Amulet, 8 play points, gold. Countdown 3, fanfare deal, 2 damage to all followers. Last words, put 3 of the following 4 cards into your hand, and they're the Santa cards, right? So the Santa cards are really, really, really strong, as Santa like ends the game, right? My only problem with this card is that, I mean, it has fanfare follow the 2 damage to the followers, so like it does fight the board while like Seraph does not. But if you're playing an 8-point amulet like this, I feel like you might as well play Seraph, because Seraph actually ends the game, right? You'd have to play this, get the countdown, then get the cards, and then end the game, right? Well, you could just play Seraph for 8 and then end the game, right? So I'm not sure I'm a fan of it. Would you play triple Seraph and then play this guy on top of that? I don't think so, right? And would you play this card in a deck that doesn't play Seraph? You wouldn't, right? So I'm not a fan of it. Next we have perhaps the best card of the set. It's the Owlcat. It's a neutral bronze, 2 play 1, 2/1. And before we even talk about the effect, let me say that I absolutely love the fact that Shadowverse has cards like this. Like Hamsa, Owlcat, the Carrot. These are the cards you remember, right? Like 10 years from now, maybe Shadowverse won't be a thing. Hopefully it is, right? But you will look back and say like, I remember Owlcat. So I like this card a lot. I'm a huge fan of the art. Absolutely love it. It's just like, you see this card and it makes me happy. So I love this card. And the fact there's going to be a meme or whatever is just fantastic. Now, the card-wise is not that great, right? I mean, it's interesting. His effect is Clash destroy the enemy follower if it has 1 attack. So it like kills like fairies and things like that for free, right? As the clash happens before the damage calculation. So that's solid. I don't see you playing Owlcat in like any actual deck though. You'd probably pick it in take 2 and not be like super sad about it, but it's not great. But it's not so much about the effect, right? It's more about what the card represents. And I gotta say, Shadowverse does not have that many like dead cards in the expansion. Most of the cards have like some sort of purpose, right? And if Owlcat doesn't see play, but he's got that art and the memes, then he's done his job, right? All I gotta say is, I'm gonna open 100 packs for the expansion, and I really hope that I get 3 animated Owlcats. That's what I want to see, man. So I absolutely love this cat. Absolutely love this Owlcat. It's just such a cool... He's an owl and a cat. Crazy. First off here, we have Dollar Blade Warrior, a 5 play point 4/5 Shadowcraft Silver. His effect is Fanfare, destroy an ally follower, and give this follower +2/+2. Does not activate if you have no other followers. It looks like they are pushing the archetype where you're playing a shadow and you want to destroy your own dudes, your own followers. And obviously there's minions that get a benefit of doing so, like the Corpse and the Attendant. And this card in that archetype seems pretty strong, right? As ideally, destroying an all follower is a benefit in that situation, right? And he gets +2, which is pretty good, right? Essentially a 5 play point 6/7, equals into an 8/9, fights the board really well. So although I'm not sure how good that deck is or that archetype is, because I feel like we need more minions that want to be destroyed. This guy, Dollar Blade Warrior, seems pretty good in that deck. So it's a good card and I like it. In take 2, it's probably solid. You might not want to sacrifice something, but if you get that synergy, then it's really good, right? So it just seems okay there. Seems like a decent card, and it's cool to see them push that archetype a little bit more. So I am pretty happy about that. Next we have the Jungle Warden, a Forest Craft 5 play point 4/5 gold. Has Ward, Enhance 10, summon another one, and they all gain Storm. This card is absolutely crazy. So, with this card, Control Force essentially gets a 10 play point with an Evo 10 damage burst combo, which is pretty good, right? Everyone knows how good Albert is at closing out games because he can do 10 damage, and this card is the same thing, right? Now, you can also compare it to cards like Genesis, which is like a 10 play point card that does a lot of damage. And this guy without Evil does 8, which is more than Genesis. But on top of that, while a card like Genesis might be dead in the mid-game, right? While you're obviously cannot play it. Joan Warden you can play on 5. And as a 5-play 4/4 reward, that's still pretty solid and you're still okay with it. So this card is absolutely insane. I think it's super good. I cannot wait to see what Control Verse can do. This card is way too good. Alright, next we have the Wise Merman, a 1-play.11 bronze neutral card. Fanfare, give +1 attack to an allied neutral follower. So it's like more neutral support, but this is not really a neutral support that I want to see. Off the bat, it seems kind of weak, right? Like 1-play minions are usually 1/1/2s, and they still have an effect, right? This guy's a 1/1/1, and the effect is like 1 attack is not bad, but it's restricted to neutral followers, which I guess in the neutral deck doesn't matter, right? But the neutral decks don't seem to be that aggressive anyway, right? I guess if you want to play aggro neutral deck, if that becomes a thing, then you might play this guy on 1, but even then, like, a 1/2 is infinitely better, right? So I'm not sure. I don't really like it. Like, neutral support is good, but I don't know if aggro is the way that neutral wants to be. The current cards, like, only Gilgamesh is like aggro neutral, right? And even then, that's an 8-drop. So I don't think this guy's that great. Next, we have the Dark Air Jammer, a Bloodcraft Silver 5-play.34 minion. Fanfare, put a random follower that costs 2 play points or less from your deck into play. And then if you're in vengeance, you do effect again. Now, we talk about the Blood Moon Amulet and Vengeance Blood being a thing. And this is a card that is, you know, pretty good in that. If you are in vengeance on turn 5 because you played the Amulet, you will get a 5-play.34 and a 2/2 and another 2/2. That's a crazy amount of stats. And then on top of that, you got to consider that the 2-drops that you play can have positive effects, right? You can get things like Bania, Unicorn, like 2-drops that have just good, solid effects. So you get a lot of stats, and you get good effects for your 2-drops. It also thins your deck out, which is good, right? Because you don't want to redraw on 2-drops in the late game, and this makes sure that, you know, it takes those 2-drops out of your deck. So I think it's really good. And even if you're not in vengeance, a 5 play point, essentially 5/6 and 2 body stats with a positive 2-drop is still a good card. So I think this card is really, really good. And I definitely expect to see this played in the Vengeance Blood deck. Seems like a really good card. Next we have Candelabra of Prayers, a Havencraft Amulet. It's 3 play point. Effect is, whenever you play an amulet, subtract 1 from its countdown. So let me first say that from my understanding, if you have this card and you play Seraph, you do not instantly win the game. It just procs the first one, you know, right away. So assuming that interaction works like that, you know, that's not insane or anything like that. And, you know, you're giving up tempo to proc your amulets a little faster. You also give up board space as well. And I just don't know if that's good enough, right? Like, usually you want to play things like Dogma, get the cycle going, and it, you know, roosters by 2 instead of 1. I don't think this card is good. Like, even if you're going absolutely crazy with an amulet deck, I don't know, like, you would play Eidolon or Skullfin instead, right? I don't think this card is good. Unless there's something crazy that I'm missing, I don't think this card is good. Next we have Rahab, a Dragoncraft Gold, 4 play.25, and this card is pretty hyped up. So, he has Ward, and he says, at the end of your turn, gains +1 attack for each of your remaining play point orbs. So essentially, anytime you float mana, this guy will get the extra play points as attack, right? He also has Ward as well, which is relevant. So as a 4 play.25 with Ward, it's like, okay, it's not too great, not horrible or anything like that. But the benefit is that, like, if you ramp up, and on turn 5 you play this guy as a 4-drop, he becomes a 3/5, and that's pretty decent. And then he still gets the effect every end of your turn, right? And that's pretty good. Now, like, there's not a lot of great 5-drops for Dragon. So playing this guy as a pseudo 5-drop is not bad at all, right? Now, you're still going to play your Dragon Warrior on 4, right? It's not like this guy will replace Dragon Warrior. And Siegfried is still a really good card as well, so... But you definitely can cut Siegfried from Dragon decks. Essentially, like, he's a good card, and how he fits into the Dragons we'll see, but I think it's solid. I think the art is fantastic. Cannot wait to see this guy animated. Looks super cool. I want to see the Evo as well. I think it's a good card. In Take 2 is the same thing, like, you'll still be happy about it, right? At worst, it's a 2/5 with Warden. That's not even that bad. And at best, it can be better, right? So it's just a good solid card. Next, we have Dazzling Healer, a 3 play point 2/3 Bronze Runecraft. Fanfare restores 0 health to all followers. And then you spell boost, you restore 1 more, right? So when I say this card, I'm a little sad that it doesn't heal your hero. And now you're thinking like, okay, that could be broken or whatever. And you know, I do get that. But I would like to see a spell boost rune that is not D-shift. That would like fight the board, aka be mid-range or control, right? Not there either, I suppose. But maybe that's like asking for too much, right? Because if this healed your hero, then I guess it would be too strong, right? It's kind of a weird card, right? I don't think they would play this, obviously. Like, they're an aggro deck that's just going face with everything. Don't really care about their board. And another, like, control spell boost deck is not a thing yet and might be in the future. And even then, I don't know if they would even play this. So, seems not that great. I feel like in Take 2, this card is solid, right? At worst, it's a 3 play 1 2/3 with your good stats. And at best, you can, like, heal your board back to life. And in Take 2, it's not bad at all. You would probably be okay taking it. Next we have Orthurs, a Shadowcraft Silver, 4 play point 1/2. So stats wise is really bad. It has the stats of a 1 play point minion, and that is not great at all, right? Like, that's just bad. So the effect better be godlike. Fanfare, deal 2 damage to a random follower. That's pretty good. And then you get +2 attack to a random allied follower. So dealing 2 damage to a random enemy follower, the fact that it's random is not great, right? Like, I feel like if you could target it, that wouldn't be crazy. I don't like the fact that it's random, right? Because for the most part, Shadowverse effects are not random and you can choose, and that's good, right? That's the direction we want to go. So I don't like that to start with. It makes the card a little worse as well, right? But dealing 2 damage is like essentially like a 1 play point spell. And then giving +2 to our follower is like a 2 play point spell, right? So it's a lot of different effects in one card, and there's value in that. That said, I don't really like it. I guess it would be good in like aggro shadow. Is this worth a lot in aggro shadow though? Like, you would like fight the board and buff some guy, and then I guess like Yvonne trade something. The benefit is that it's a lot of stats, a lot of effects in one card, but it pays that in stats a lot, right? Like a 1/2 for 4 is really, really bad. So I don't think it's that great. Okay, now we got a Swordcraft Legendary. This card is pretty cool. It's Roland the Incorruptible, a Swordcraft Commander, 7 play point 4/5, has Ward. Fanfare, summon a Durandal the Incorruptible if you don't have another one in play, and if you also has Ward. So what is the thing that it summons? We'll see it right here. So this is the amulet that card summons, and it says enemy follower spells and amulets can't deal more than 4 damage at a time. So what that means off the bat is that as a 4/5, if anything can only deal 4 damage or less, then you gotta hit her twice to kill her, right? And that's pretty decent. This effect is a powerful effect, and it's really meaningful in some situations, and really meaningless in others, right? For example, if you're playing against, let's say, Aggro Blood, they don't deal more than 4 damage at a time. They deal a bunch of small damage, right? In some other matchups, though, like, say, Wolfbolt Forest, they deal 9 damage at a time, and cutting that damage down to 4 is massive, because it means that they essentially cannot kill you with their combo, right? That's absolutely huge. So, if you're playing a slower sword deck, aka Control Sword, people usually play in Frogguard General as like a 2 or 3 off, right? And you could probably just play this card instead. It's not strictly better than Frogguard General, but for the most part, it should be better, right? Because it won't cost you in those early matchups like Aggro Blood, right? At least not too much, hopefully. But it makes those other matches where the effect is relevant more, right? So it seems good. Now, the amulet can be destroyed by things like Bourbon and stuff like that, but it's a strong effect. It costs you a board space, but as a control sword deck, you're not flooding the board anyway, so that shouldn't matter. And it is a really powerful effect. And in the games where it's not relevant, then like you don't pay too much for it, as you still get a 4/5 with Ward, which is like not the worst for 7, right? Obviously, it's not that great either, but it does take 2 hits to die from a minion, so seems good. I like this card. It's just good, right? Like, I definitely see sword decks playing this.